Welcome to Mortgage on My Mind, where we take the mystery out of mortgages and make dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Natalie Salins, a top 1% mortgage broker with 20 years of experience, based right here in sunny Los Angeles. If you've ever wondered about pre-approvals, appraisals, or what loan product is right for you, don't worry, I've got Mortgage on My Mind, so you don't have to. Each week, I'll bring you expert advice, real-life stories, and insider tips to help you navigate California's competitive real estate market with confidence. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or just curious about how it all works, this podcast is for you. So let's talk mortgages, demystify the process, and make your real estate goals a reality. Ready to get started? Let's dive in.
Financial legacy for your graduate, because I noticed when I did it with my son, it was through the different stages of his life. Like when he was, kind of graduating from diapers, I got him a house that paid for his college. When he was graduating from elementary school, we ended up putting money down for his first investment townhome. When he graduated from high school, his graduation gift was a down payment on a very small condo. So anyway, so that's why the book says for your graduate. I have it here. I can show you what it looks like. It looks like that.
I like it. Oh,
thank you.
Nice.
So that's why it has the different ages. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
And did you buy them and keep them as investment properties so they kind of paid for themselves in the meantime?
Yes. So like the one that did best at this point overall was, of course, the one that I bought longest ago, because that's how it works with real estate, right? The mortgage is going down and the equity is going up, and rental rates are going up. So it's interesting how that happens. And so I purchased that one. My down payment was $9,000, which is really all it cost me. It doesn't. So,
but what's incredible, just as a quick side note, because what we do is mortgages. Yeah. So when you purchase for a child or for a parent, either or, whichever is a dependent of yours, you can buy it as a primary, even if you aren't taking it as a primary.
I did not know that.
Yes. So you can put 5% down. You can put 3% down and still get a rate of a primary home because you are buying it for a dependent, either child or parent.
That is great information. I had no idea that was the case.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing. See, unless you talk to the right people, like obviously you're the right person because you're the expert. A lot of time, there's no other way sometimes to get the information. It's like you really have to fight to educate yourself and get the information and get the right information, because that's huge. That can make the difference between someone being able to purchase or not able to purchase.
I mean, on a $500,000 home, that's $15,000 as opposed to $150,000.
Yeah, that's crazy when you put it in perspective,
right? So,
yes.
Yeah, it can be a very big deal. Yeah.
Yes, that is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that particular house, I ended up using a little bit of rental income that was above the mortgage to pay like a monthly college prepaid program, which now these days people would probably just put it into a 529 and it would have the same effect probably. But by the time he was ready to go to college, the 4-year university was fully prepaid. And because when the interest rates went down quite a bit, I decided to refinance at that time to a lower rate. And I started, making extra payments to the principal when the rental rate went up. And then I was like, I have extra money now. I'll just start paying down the principal a little bit more. Yeah. So by the time he's 25, the house will be free and clear. And it's last time I checked, which was maybe 2 months ago, it had a value of $350,000. So it's kind of, amazing that you can just have that to start off with, because at this point I bought that house for him. So, the day he gets married or, sometime in the future, that can be a gift that's kind of life-changing to him.
Sure. Yeah.
Obviously, our prices here in Florida are much different than your prices in California and out west and, or even in New York. So our pricing is a little bit different here. It's a little easier, but
yeah. Where in Florida are you?
Just outside of Orlando, very close to Disney World.
Okay. I'm from Florida.
What part?
From West Palm. So just about 3 hours south. Yeah. We used to go to Disney all the time. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a great area, Orlando.
Yeah, thank you. It's growing quite a bit. There are constantly people moving here, and it's changed quite a bit. When I was growing up, because I've been here all my life, there were orange groves behind where I grew up, and now everything is built up. It's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I bet. So it's good and bad, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So tell me, as far as understanding how you leverage for family goals and stuff, like what is some advice that you would give to somebody new who's looking to do, real estate investing?
Well, I would say to start by educating themselves, obviously, but I think the main thing to start with is to really kind of sit down and think about what your goals are, because it's different at different stages of life. When my son went away to college, after his first year and he was settled there and everything was good, we bought a house up there where he was going to school. And then he ended up going to University of Alabama, which is a huge football school, but they don't have enough hotel rooms to meet the demand for the stadium. And so we realized it would make sense to buy a home, and then he would leave during the game day weekends and we would rent out the house as an Airbnb. So we set it up as an Airbnb, and that was amazing. So that use is totally different from the use that you would want to have if, like I said, you have a baby and you want to invest in something that's going to be long term, then you would probably want to invest in a single family home in a steady neighborhood, that kind of thing. So I think that the very first thing to start with is to really sit down and analyze what your goals are and what your timeline is, so that you can figure out which type of real estate investment would fit your situation the best. I think that's the best way for people to start, because I think a lot of times people don't start with self-reflection. They start with, how can I make money really quickly? What advice can I gather that's going to help me buy a home with no money down? And, I think people get kind of sucked into these things that aren't necessarily in their best interest and not necessarily for their time in life at this point.
It's true. I sometimes advise clients or even friends of mine, like, where do you see it's best? Let's ask this now when we're a little bit younger and you actually don't feel like retiring for another 15 to 20 years or so. Where do you see yourself retiring? Where would you like to live? Is it somewhere outside of here? What type of home is that? Start to think about investing in that home now. And then, as long as it even breaks even, you don't have to make money on it. But if you just have a property sitting that's available for you when you are ready to retire, and now that mortgage is only, whatever it is, a sixth of what it would be if you buy it 20 years later. So now you're paying $2,000 instead of $8,000 on a home.
So true.
That's your retirement, So just get in, let it pay for itself. Again, don't worry about making money. It's not about that. It's actually about breaking even and having a home that is in an area, or the size of the home, even if it's not in the area, that you would like to retire in. That then becomes this sanctuary for you that doesn't have a large liability on it, that has, like, your taxes are lower, your loan is lower, everything about it is set up so that you can retire easily and not worry about that new payment.
So true. That's such great advice to give people. Yeah.
But when you think about it, because I've had so many clients who are like, I'm going to move to LA now because my kids are there and we're retiring there. And they go from a payment of like $3,000 a month to $7,000 a month. And
that's huge. And they want to retire.
This feels opposite to me.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I feel like you should be lowering your monthly liability and debt and not doubling or more.
Yeah.
And we figure out ways to get them out of it. They sell the house and then they put that lump sum of money towards the new loan, and they recast, which means you re-amortize the monthly payments based on the new balance. And then that helps and everything. But it definitely, you're like, gosh, if people just did this 20 years prior, they would have close to nothing left on the mortgage, close to no payment, and then could retire like legitimately at ease, and
Yes.
that's really what you want for people.
Absolutely. Yeah. 'Cause it's that the long-term goals that you want to help people with and figure it out. And it's great that, you present it that way, because really so many people, they're just thinking about the short term, just closing this loan now, and not thinking about these relationships that you build with people that
Yeah.
you really affect their lives and their livelihood in the future.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, look what you did for your son, right? So think about, just the idea of what he can do if he's getting into a home that's free and clear, what he can do with all that money that he's saving on a housing payment. Because normally that's like 30% of somebody's income, right? So
Right. Yes.
what to do with all that extra, and the savings. Just getting that person set up so well to alleviate that kind of, debt per month. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had a lot of fun together with real estate, and just he has enjoyed it as well, which makes it easier for me, because when someone else enjoys what you enjoy, then there's just a natural ease to that whole situation. And so he has enjoyed getting to know how to analyze properties, and we did a renovation together and that kind of thing. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you also have a course that you do. Is it like a first-time homebuyer course, or?
What I am in the middle of putting it together, because the way I want to do it, I don't want to just have a course that people download and watch. I would like for it to be a little bit more interactive. So I was thinking about doing a little bit more of like a live webinar where I'm there speaking and giving the information about investing, different types of investments, what my personal experiences have been, and then providing worksheets and information and tips and tricks and all that, but being there so that if someone has a question, then I'm right there on the other end of the computer. So I am working on finalizing that, because a lot goes into those things, the worksheets and the figuring out who's going to, how to have the webinar hosted. And then of course you have to advertise it somewhere. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I want it to be really valuable for people. And so I'm finalizing it, but I do hope to have that out there to help people kind of get started. Like there's a goal setting worksheet to start with, to sit down and kind of do homework on and set your goals and things like that. And then it goes all the way to how to analyze property and how to also plan on leaving a legacy later, because there's so many, even though I'm not an accountant, obviously there are a lot of tax, ramifications and benefits. And if you just have a little bit of education on them, that just like the tidbit you had given at the beginning, it can change everything.
Yeah. I think that's what so many people don't actually realize, is they think that they're going to buy a property that they don't live in or that isn't theirs, that it has to cost them so much more money. Yeah. And then there's the opposite. People come to me all the time that are like, I want to buy this, property that's units, and I want to put 3% down, and I'm not going to live in it. And you're like, well, then you're going to need money down. That's not, or you're going to live in it, but yeah. And so what roles would you say financial planning has in like leveraging real estate?
Well, I really think that, planning can help you determine where to best invest your money. So if you don't have a lot, that doesn't mean you can't buy, but you can plan on maybe pursuing a condo or something with a smaller, barrier to entry than some of the single family homes. So I think that kind of that planning and getting ready also gives you an exit strategy. And sometimes things come to us that are unplanned and unexpected. And as long as you know what you have is an asset, then you know how to deal with that better. And what I mean by that is, when my son graduated from high school, our gift to him was a 3% down payment on a condo. And the condo was $65,000. Now, this wasn't that long ago. He graduated in 2019. So, you can get these properties. So the down payment was, about $2,000. And then the condo was rented. It was doing well. Everything was fine. COVID hit. And then everything changed immediately. And the tenant left. He lost a job. He needed to move. We made an agreement. Obviously, if he can't pay, there's no reason. We have no intention of forcing him to stay there. So, and plus it was a crazy time. Everything that was going on was just so uncertain. So the tenant left, and then we were left thinking, oh gosh, what do we do now? We have not only a master association, but a sub-association. And they're huge, pretty big HOA payments. And what are we going to do about this? And so it's in those times that you can get panicked and kind of panic sell, or you just make silly decisions. But because we had kind of planned this was unplanned, but we had planned and thought about, this is an asset, this is an investment, it's going to last a long time, and then later we're going to fix it and sell it. We just decided, we'll just move up the timeline. Since we are socially distant from everyone anyways, why don't we just hole up in there and, start doing some renovation on our own. We installed vinyl plank flooring because that's a very do-it-yourself kind of project, and, kind of did some paint and things like that, and ended up selling the condo. And it was our first flip together, and he made a nice profit off of it. And it was a nice way to see that, okay, being calm about a situation and having had a plan, maybe the timeline changed, but we were able to execute the plan without going into full panic mode.
Got it. But so you did end up selling.
Yes.
And did you buy anything else?
We did end up buying something else, but not because at that point he was home because the schools were closed for COVID. And then that's when we decided, well, we'll take the money from that sale and we'll invest it in a house up there in Tuscaloosa, so that then you can Airbnb it. And that's kind of how that whole thing started. One led to the other.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, when you think about investment properties, you think about 1031s and the ability to not have to pay any capital gains and taxes on the property that you earn money on. Yeah.
Yes. I have done a 1031 exchange previously, several years ago. Gosh, probably now like 15 years ago when I think about it. And it worked really well. It was a great strategy. I really liked it quite a bit and was very pleased with the results and just how much was saved in terms of taxes.
Yeah. There are very creative ways to do 1031s as well. I've worked with people where like somebody was coming from from Las Vegas here. At the time, her house there, she had lived in it, but it was rented because she had moved here from Vegas. So it was renting. She was selling it to buy her primary here. So it's not investment to investment. 1031s are always investment to investment.
Yeah.
It was investment to primary, but because she was buying a primary that had a back house, she was able to, because you only have to, it's investment to investment, but it's the square footage. The legality of it is the square footage. It's quite incredible, actually.
It's interesting.
So that house was 1,720 square feet. She had to show proof she was going to rent 1,720 square feet of the new house. That would be the rental. And sure enough, the home itself was like 1,900 square feet and the back house was just like 700 square feet. And that's where she legitimately was going to live and rent out the front house. And she was able to 1031 that even though it was a primary.
Wow, what a genius maneuver. She must have been so thrilled with the way you structured that.
It was definitely interesting. I was like, I don't think we can do this. I'm not sure what's going to happen to you after when the IRS finds out, but like, let me talk to my 1031 people. I've got a few that I work with and let me see how we can strategically make this work for you. And sure enough, my 1031 guy was like, what do you mean? This is how we structure it. It's fine.
That's awesome.
Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you feeling about the DSCR loans now?
Love them. I structure so many people into them. In fact, honest to God, this morning, I have a client who, emailed random, was like, what are the rates on blah, blah, blah. What are your fees? And I was like, let's get on the phone because you're asking 20 to 30% down. And that's such a range. Like my numbers are going to vary so much between 20 and 30. Like, let's really talk about it. And sure enough, we get on the phone and he tells me that he's a salaried lawyer that literally left his job 2 weeks ago and now he's self-employed. And he's like, but it's okay. My company can salary me. And I was like, I mean, great. I hope you do very well, but that doesn't really matter because anyone could say they're going to pay themselves $20,000 a month.
Right.
And if I don't have a history of you earning at least 40, you know what I mean? Like it's not going to mean much for an underwriter. And sure enough, the place that he wants to buy is a 4-unit.
Oh, great.
And I was like, I mean, we're putting this into DSCR where I don't need any docs, And so we immediately were like, let's talk about what the numbers are, how much money down. Of course, DSCR means debt servicing credit ratio, which means the rents have to cover the full housing payment, not just the mortgage, but the PITI. So housing, taxes, and insurance. And so we were talking about the rents and seeing if it would work. And he needed to do 30% down. And that happens a lot in LA because the numbers are high and you need to put more money down to make those numbers work.
Makes sense.
But the interesting thing is I have a bunch of investors that will do under 1%. So normally it's 1 for 1. If the housing payment is $6,000, the rents have to be $6,000. But I have a couple investors that will take an interest-only payment.
Oh.
Or we'll do a 40-year amortization payment.
Wow, that's
so
great.
Now from 6,000, now it's 5,000. So if the rents come in at 5, we're 1 to 1. The interest-only payment's only 5,200. If it rents 1 to 1, then it works. And then I have other investors that will allow you to do 0.8 of the rent or even 0.75 of the rent.
Wow.
So the mortgage payment can actually be, higher than the rents coming in. And so we figure it out, we structure it and sometimes the rate's going to be higher because the risk is higher, right?
Yes.
What comes with risk? Higher rates. So
yes.
We kind of go through that and discuss it. But I love the DSCRs. Like they're fantastic. And I quoted him on a DSCR. So that's investment units, no docs, 7.5 today.
Oh, that is great. Yeah.
It's amazing for a no doc loan.
It really is. It really is.
I was pleased with it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was selling real estate, and 7% was a normal interest rate that everyone got. When my mom was selling real estate, interest rates were 18%. So, 7.5% for a no doc loan, that's amazing.
It's good. And we do it in-house. So we can offer, quicker turn times and no prepayment penalties and all of that. Yeah.
So I may send a follow-up email to you about that because I did just purchase a property that now I'm fixing up a bit with the intention of doing a post-closing DSCR, but I have never done one yet. So I will message you and see if that's something we can maybe connect on because it might be a really good fit.
Yeah, I'm doing one right now in Indiana.
Oh.
Same thing. She took a HELOC out of her current home.
Yeah.
For $220,000, bought this 3-unit property in Indiana where her father lives and now wants to pay the HELOC back because she did renovations on it and now it's worth like 300 or more.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get her some money back to pay off the HELOC.
And I think that's one of the more interesting things that I've heard about the DSCR. And again, I haven't done it yet, so I don't know if it's true or not. But I have heard that if you buy, like she did, or I just have, fix it, and then the appraised value comes in at higher than your purchase price, if a certain amount of time has gone by, then your loan to value is based on the appraised value as opposed to your purchase price. Is that
100%.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So which is amazing.
Of course. I mean, any value, as long as it's like probably 3 months, but any value that comes in is used for your loan to value, for your LTV. So if you, like, she doesn't have a loan on it.
Mhm.
And so we send out upfront disclosures and I'm like, none of these numbers mean anything. Just so you know, look at them, sign them. They don't mean anything until the appraisal comes in. This is DSCR. So literally the appraisal gives me my income, gives me my value. It gives us everything on the file. These are all made up at this point. Until the appraisal comes in, I'm not going to know what my loan amount is because we can only take it up to a certain percentage of the value. And I really don't even know what my rents are because it's empty and the appraiser is going to give us our market value. So, it's an interest. DSCRs are fun, but they're definitely like you hold with bated breath until that comes in.
Yeah. It seems like a great product though. I'm very excited to
It is.
learn more and kind of go through the process and see really how it works out, because that would totally change everything in terms of, just buying many more properties.
Of course. At a rate in the 7s, it takes you from not having to do a hard money where you're paying points and prepayment, like all of those other negative defaults that happen on it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about it. I'm glad we talked about it.
Oh, good. I know.
I definitely am going to follow up on.
Awesome. Anytime, of course.
Good.
Well, so it was lovely chatting with you. Did you
too
have any follow-up, like final notes that you want to kind of share with the audience? Anything that you think we didn't speak about?
I think we did speak about the major things, which is, to me, the major thing is goal setting and planning, really knowing yourself, knowing what is the right vehicle for you, because there are so many different forms of real estate and different ways to structure things, as you've mentioned. And also, I think for me, one of the greatest things about real estate investing has been the closeness that it has given me with my kids, with my son in particular, because he likes it more than my daughter. She's not a big fan sometimes of the homes that need fixing up. But my son, it really has brought us closer, and it gave me an opportunity not just to work physically on a project with him, which has been wonderful, but also to help him through the process of, this is what is involved when you have a mortgage. You've got to make the payment. This is how I taught him how to write a check and balance a checkbook, which seems outdated. Now he does it on Quicken, but it's that process of teaching kids the things that then you realize they aren't taught this in school at all. And it is important to educate them on. For me, it's been important to educate him on what my successes have been in real estate and where I feel like I could have done more or done something differently in real estate and in investing, and just, really being mindful of how to build wealth over time, because the kids have the big advantage of time. And so I think that's just, to me, that's a very important thing that I wish the audience would know and everyone would know and think about, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, we don't think these are really valuable lessons that we could be passing on to our kids as well, that could really prepare them better and change their futures.
Totally. And where do you leave your homes to anyway is for your children. It's your retirement and really the earnings and the assets that you leave behind, so it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
So true.
Yeah. Well, it was lovely chatting with you.
You too. Thank you so very much. This was wonderful.
Absolutely. It really was. It's so nice to meet you, and congrats on the book. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited about it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Of course.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage on My Mind. If you're ready to start your mortgage journey or have any questions, I'd love to help. With 20 years of experience, I make the process as simple and stress-free as possible. Check the show notes for my contact info, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. Until next time, I'm Natalie Salins, here to help make your real estate dreams a reality.